How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and test this thing out, the ANK M38 Puma M181. So it's a mod that's been added. They've done a few different mods. There's a long nose club and stuff, and I'm going to go and do this called Looking Beyond the Horizon. It's a mission on drowned lands. It's the last mission I need to do to get quarry unlocked, and yeah, I've been doing a lot of this stuff on my live stream, but I don't really want to do another live stream where I spend the majority of the time on drowned lands. So I just figured we'll get it out of the way. That's the route I've got to take. Got to go and grab like cargo containers, metal beams, and is it service spare parts. So yeah, quite a little bit of a trek around the map. I'm kind of glad in the end that I chose to do it as like a video instead of just in a live stream, because it ended up taking quite a while. I mean, first things first, of course, we're bringing a goddamn horse or vehicle with us. He's fits in pretty nicely. That's what she said. Yeah, I'm able to pack the loaf. So I'm going to grab a trailer. I really, again, not keen on these trailers, but I thought I'll give the off-road version a go, the ramped flatbed. I say it's more the whole sort of... they're just very tippy. I'm not too keen on. But we'll see how it goes. We'll give it a go. And yeah, as I happen to be doing this mission, the list has gone off the top corner. I'll turn that back on at some point. Yeah, part of what I've got to do, I'm pretty much going to follow the same path as this contest, and with this contest it's the container delivery contest. I've done it quite a lot, done quite a lot of timed runs on it. It's very good for racking up a bit of cash because it's very repeatable. You can just recover to the garage, which I've just set off from, and kind of do the mission again. So yeah, I mean, this time I'm not going for like a record run or anything, but it just seems I've got to take one cargo container with me anyway, so while I'm at it I may as well pack two on the trailer. And yeah, I've already accepted that mission, and at least if I can do it within the gold time, I'll still get about 5.5 grand out of it, which helps boost your cash up a bit. Like I said, I'm basically going to drive past the same place anyway, and yeah, I can drop it off before I need to grab any other cargo, so it's not really going to steal much room from me or anything. So yeah, we'll get setting off. And of course, we have got the loaf, and the loaf is an important little beast on this one. Not just the fact that I like bringing a loaf everywhere with me, but yeah, I know that this thing's got a relatively small fuel tank. I believe actually they're probably up to the size of the fuel tank, but nonetheless it drinks fuel pretty quickly. It's probably not too far off. About the Navistar is probably one of the thirstiest trucks I've driven in the game altogether. That thing absolutely nails the fuel. However, that has got a much bigger fuel tank in its own right. Yeah, this thing is not the biggest, still a bit of a heavy drinker. As I was cutting through here, somebody was saying, and they might be right, I've not really given it a full amount of testing yet, I might have a little play around and see what happens, but the off-road versions of these trailers seem to be a lot heavier, and I've noticed it with a couple of things when I've been towing them the last few days. I mean, that truck I used yesterday, the Z34 or whatever it was, yeah, I ended up kind of abandoning the trailer halfway because it was a little bit heavy for that anyway. This thing's obviously got a lot more power, doing a bit better. It's not got an amazing amount of weight to it though, so it doesn't plant itself into the ground as well. That, among other things, why I quite like sticking the loaf on the front, because since they've added mods, say like that heavy wrecker for example, that's got weighted front bumpers. There's quite a few different mods I believe now that's got weighted front bumpers. Some of Frog's mods have got them. Yeah, obviously it adds weight to the front and helps keep your front tyres pressed down, particularly when you're towing stuff. You tend to almost do a wheelie, and like if you're not actually wheeling, you're lifting a lot of front weight off the front of your truck. So having the loaf on there helps keep like the front pinned back down to yeah, get a bit more grip. But as you can see, it's definitely, even though there's plenty of power there, and one thing I always did like with the ANK, because it was pretty good at doing it back in the day as well, is even when you're in high gear, even when you kind of get slowed down quite a bit, it tends to just wheel spin rather than stall in high gear, which for the most part I quite like. If nothing else, I can kind of gauge roughly when I'm wheel spinning and in high gear is not really the best option. I can drop it down to auto, but while it's wheel spinning rather than stalling, I'm not, yeah, my revs aren't dying or anything, so you can kind of transition smoother into the auto and just carry on going, whereas, yeah, once you get the sign pop up on the screen that you basically stalling in the high range, it's that's it, you've already lost all your momentum, all your power. The game kind of drops it back down to first gear and you just have to sort of start again. There's another goddamn horse vehicle. Still need to do that mission, that's saving country bread. Maybe I'll end up doing it on one of the live streams, I'm not too sure. It's one of those missions really where it's quite a small mission, so it's probably not really worth making a video of it all by itself, because it'll only be like a pretty short and sweet 8-minute video or something. But yeah, we'll squeeze it in there one day. Again, it's definitely what she said. You can see as well up front, there's a trailer. I already did the run before, and basically when I got to that point, I was not only a bit unsure about like how heavy this trailer was, but there was something not quite right about the ANK, so I detached the trailer, recovered it. Turns out I put the wrong engine in. When you get the this truck, the list of engines, normally you sort of scroll down the list, and the further down, generally speaking, the more powerful the engine is. This one though, the most powerful engine, which I believe is the twin steer engine, is at the top of the list. I chose the one at the bottom, which is kind of the second most powerful, but still. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I recovered and got that, so that's why that trailer's just sat there. And this first bit is a little bit slower paced. I mean, you can see in total, even when I've edited it really, it's still like a half an hour mission. Overall, it probably took me nearer an hour and a half. But what I do quite like about this mission and what I was doing, is kind of what I used to do back in the day. I've got a few various other trucks scattered around the map from previous missions I've done. There's a loaf that's chilling out somewhere. I've got the Bandit with the seismic vibrator module, which I kind of parked somewhere else when I was demonstrating how to kind of triangulate pretty easily where those sort of areas are that you got to go and scan for oil or whatever it was. And yeah, I kind of factored that into my mission. I mean, again, I'm bringing this. I knew it was not going to be great on fuel. I knew I wouldn't be able to do a full run of the map without needing some fuel. There was a fuel station nearby, but I purposely wanted to try and cut that out. And yeah, by bringing the loaf, that's brought me, as near as makes no difference, an extra 200 litres. And like I said, just kind of by planning my route in a certain direction, I'm going past the loaf and past the Bandit, so I might be able to scavenge some fuel from them as and when the time's right. And I mean, there you go, I've been promoted on this one. I don't even know what level I am so far, but yeah, it was still within a gold time, so it still paid, is it 5,600 and some XP, which is pretty nice. And I believe this mission at the end pays around 6 grand, maybe a bit higher. So yeah, I mean, that was just a cheap, easy way to nearly double the amount of money I'm getting for the same mission. And like I said, for me personally, I suppose it doesn't really matter that much anymore, because since using that money glitch. But nonetheless, for other people as well, some people haven't used the glitch, some people don't want to use the glitch. And either way, if you're doing this mission, like, I had to circle around the rail yard to grab one cargo container anyway, so I may as well just, yeah, make a bit of extra cash while we're on the way. Like I said, now we've got all past that bit, we can kind of open up the speed a bit more, drop the hammer. Didn't want to turn too sharply. This ANK, it tips less than it used to. I'm not sure if the person who's modded this has specifically fiddled with the weight sort of distribution and all that, or if it's just sort of a combination of adding these tyres, because these tyres certainly sit wider than the old ANK tyres used to. And even when we got the Flooded Foothills and the Salmon Peak, like Phase 2 update, they added the custom muds to the normal ANK we can get, and that seemed to help quite a bit with the tipping in its own right, so yeah, it might just be that, but either way, it's about manageable. I mean, again, I have got a goddamn professional sat on the roof, but he's got a roof rack, so that's that's his job. He is a roof rack. Yeah, like I say, I was able to get my foot down on this section a little bit. And as you can see, coming up in the distance, I mean, what a goddamn horse of a vehicle. He's been sat there waiting for ages. He knew his mission. He had a dream to save me in some kind of future mission. And that time is now. So yeah, I mean, this thing drinks quite a bit, especially while it's going quite slow through that mud as well. It's nailing the fuel quite a lot. Fuel for distance, anyway. But yeah, this little beast scavenged, still had 40 litres in the roof rack, still had most of its fuel tank full, I think, so I was able to top everything up, give them a little toot, and we're off. And yeah, you can see at the minute, right now, it's crawling pretty slow. And like I said, I think part of it may be this trailer. It does feel like a bit of an anchor, this trailer, but the old trailers that used to feel like an anchor felt like they were digging into the map, like it was something invisible that was just holding you back. These more feel like they're just very heavy trailers, which, yeah, they certainly slow you down unless you got some of the bigger, meatier trucks to tow it with. But they also, for the most part, keep it very nice and planted, sort of low down, to help stop the trailer tipping. I did check as well at some point, I can lock the dolly on this one as well, like I say, it's part of that trailer pack, which, yeah, it's pretty cool. And they're still definitely tippable trailers. Like I said, the big difference between these and the trailers that use the saddles is they kind of lock onto the top of your truck. This thing, it's able to kind of rotate because of the dolly axle itself. It's also the way it hitches to the truck has got a lot of play in it. So just overall, they're a bit more risky, particularly for an off-road game. What they'd sort of need really is, how you can see it now, just sit the tyres like equivalent of adding some spacers onto them. And yeah, make the actual tyres sit wider than the truck bed, or the trailer bed, sorry. And then yeah, that'd kind of help stop a lot of the tippiness, really. So again, a little bit of a slow section. I remember this Drowned Lands map was definitely, well, Russia in all, really, kind of. Not only this, Quarry's certainly got some sections that are a bit faster, not too bad. Zimnegorsk was definitely like a classic muddy map that kind of makes you go slow as anything everywhere. But I still think there is trucks I nearly used for this, but I didn't in the end, was the Azov Iceberg, because I knew it'd nail this mission probably pretty comfortably. I'd like to as well pretty soon, I reckon, do a review for that Azov Iceberg, because it's definitely a solid truck, a lot of fun. It's just nice how it's got plenty of power to kind of dominate the maps, really, when you're in the mood for just spanking a mission rather than yeah, crawling by. It's definitely high on my list of trucks to take. So in the end, I was kind of creeping over to the left. As soon as you can get grip with this truck and you can get fast enough to drop it into high range, you can kind of build up the momentum and you then start ticking along quite nicely. But yeah, it was definitely feeling the mud sections fairly severely. Almost then as well, could have had a little tip, but at the last second I remembered that it's like a bit of a serious dip in the map there, so let off the accelerator at the last second. I think it just about saved me. So anyway, we're at our next point. Got to grab yeah, 2 lots of service spare parts. Originally I was going to put them in the back of the trailer, in the back of the ANK, sorry. The loaf is slightly in the way, but I'll show you later why. I'm going to do it on the metal beams instead, and the main reason is because the those service spare part cargo, they're quite narrow at the top, so it's quite hard to balance a loaf on them. That'll make more sense in a little bit when we go and grab the metal beams. And again, you can see I got it into high there, but I didn't quite get the momentum first, so it's holding me back, keeping me going slow. And yeah, I'm not sure after using these. These are the studded version of the quasi muds. I'm not sure if I'm as keen on them as, like, just in the end going for the chained. But then I kind of wanted a wide set, or at least either a wide set like this or a dual rear set, because I knew, particularly with the route I'd be taking, having a loaf on the roof and all the rest of it, yeah, the ANK, particularly when you have the single tyres, they do sit quite narrow, really. And it certainly doesn't help with the tippiness. And I think when you get the dual rears with a traditional chained, I don't think they're the mud versions, which is kind of what I prefer. So yeah, I went for a bit of a compromise and ended up getting these wide ones. But yeah, I don't, well, they're certainly not doing bad through mud. Like I say, I think there's a few things at play. Yeah, this trailer's got a lot of weight as one of them. That was very close to being the end. Managed to fling a winch out. I stalled, but I wasn't too worried about that. That loaf must have been a couple of degrees of just automatically being like auto unpacked and falling off, but again, he's goddamn professional. That's why you bring a professional along for the job, because he gets the job done. He stayed on, he held in there. The only thing I probably would do different is I attached a snorkel to this truck, and it's kind of on the left hand side of the truck. You can almost see the loaf a tiny bit leaning over. There's not just where the snorkel is, but a few things in this game that almost have like an invisible hitbox that's bigger than what they actually are. And yeah, even though the snorkel's kind of sits to the side, it's, as I say, it's almost, yeah, got like an invisible hitbox that sits a little bit sticking out, and it's slightly nudging against the loaf, which later on was close, but again, I mean, he's a goddamn horse of a vehicle, so he figured it out, but yeah, it was close to not letting me repack. And I mean, at this stage, it would have been nice to put the service spare parts in the ANK, because it'd probably help add a bit of weight overall to the ANK, rather than, yeah, I've not got a whole lot of weight on me, whereas now, especially that I've got a fully packed trailer as well, it's a lot of weight to be towing along behind. I think that's probably not helping as well when we hit a few mud patches. But again, yeah, got a nice little patch, got it into high, and then you can soon motor along. Quite often you're better along doing what I'm doing, just sort of skipping along the edges of the roads, rather than full on through the mud. This section I can't really help it. Looks a bit tippy off to the side. That was close. I thought my cargo might try and jump off then. And yeah, I've not got a crane for this. You can get a crane. It's funny, when you flick through the add-ons for this truck, it still leaves that the sideboard attachment on the back, like as if that's just part of the actual truck itself. But it sort of makes it invisible, so you could attach the KRS Bandit crane, which again, of the small cranes, I think that is my favourite. It seems pretty solid so far. You could put a big crane on it, and also I ended up putting a flatbed on. You can see kind of like from the little bars behind the cab that other than just the sideboard bed thing it's got, I equipped a flatbed as well, because I mean, the way with this truck, it just kind of has the sideboard as part of the truck itself. So maybe that's just the way they've got around it. When you flick through the add-ons, you can add things like I said, like the big crane, yeah, the flatbed, a few other things. You can have the KRS crane, but it doesn't knock the sideboard or the flatbed backwards, so it kind of is basically going to hog one spot, so I'll only be able to put one lot of cargo in. I also wouldn't have been able to bring the loaf with me. And yeah, those two things combined, it just wasn't worth bringing the crane in the end. It's a little bit risky, obviously, because if I tip, I'm going to have to send in something for the rescue. But like I said, between not being able to have the loaf, if I didn't have the loaf, I'd also run out of fuel at various points going around the mission. And like I said, without that slot of cargo, it's pointless anyway, because I need 6 cargo in total for this mission. And yeah, obviously get 4 with the ramped flatbed, 2 in the ANK. If I lost that one spot, then yeah, I'd basically have to change to a different truck. I'd have to get something with like that 8-slot trailer or something. I was trying at this point. I have got fuel with the loaf. I was just seeing if I could crawl to the end of here, because I can see the bandit I left from a previous mission up there. I was going to try and pinch some fuel off that. However, this thing wasn't quite gripping its way through the mud quick enough, so once it started spluttering like mad, I was like, I'm probably not going to make it anyway, and I'm kind of just burning more fuel where it's in that half spluttery stage. I get why they do that fuel spluttering, but in some trucks it starts at around like 15 litres, which when you think about it, if you had 15 litres left, it wouldn't already be spluttering. They probably could tone it down to like the last 5 litres or something. But anyway, yeah, grabbed a bit off the loaf, you see, always saves the day. Now I'm going to scavenge some back off the bandit. I'm going to top my loaf up first. He gets first dibs. And then whatever's left, stick it in the ANK. Change it to daytime again. Like somebody was saying as well, and I agree, it'd be nice if there was a mod just to make it daytime all the time. I mean, I sort of mentioned a similar thing the other week, that having no fog would be very nice. And I think there was a mod like that back in the day, but I don't know what happened to it. But I was saying to them, it's not really the... I don't mind the night time itself. It's that bit like in between, where it's kind of half day, half night. Your headlights don't really do much of anything, but it's still fairly dark. And yeah, getting a bit bouncy there. Loaf's having a good old time. He's hanging on. It's not his first rodeo. It reminds me actually, years and years and years ago, I was with a mate of mine, and I must have been about 17. I think he was just 18. He'd not long passed his test. And yeah, we ended up crashing a party. It was a people having a party in our year at some village hall thing. Yeah, we weren't invited, but we invited ourselves. We went along. I kind of knew a load of people there, so they weren't really bothered. But one of the things they had at this place was a rodeo thing. What was it, like those rodeo bull things? And I got on that and started having a go. And it turns out I was pretty good at it. I was gripping on for dear life with my legs. And I was kind of taunting the guy who was operating the thing, saying, like, is this all it's got? I had a cowboy hat I'd robbed off someone. I was riding this thing one-handed, flailing me a cowboy hat all over the place. By the way, you just see now, this is the loaf is a goddamn professional. I've got to put the metal beams in. But yeah, they won't quite fit because the loaf's arse was hanging over the back. And now this is where the snorkel has caught me a bit, which nearly derailed the whole plans. However, the loaf is a professional. Jiggled around. Very careful with the driving, scoot the wheels up onto the roof. I now got I've now got room to pack the metal beams, slip the loaf back on, and then we'll pack it and we'll get on our way. Yeah, so I was winding this guy up, and I ended up getting something ridiculous like 138 seconds. I made it on this thing. Everyone else was getting like 15, 20 seconds, and yeah, got off it. And anyway, the next day, I've never had such sore thighs in my life. Like, the effort I was expending to just hug this mechanical bull with my legs. Turns out I was, yeah, putting a lot of the effort in with my thighs, which the next day had been exercised like they'd never been exercised before. And I could not walk to save my life. I was like, yeah, looked like John Wayne again walking around. Looked like I've been riding a white horse for too long, but that thing nailed me. It was a funny night, though. Another thing as well, it was pretty bad. I don't condone it. What's the nice way of explaining it? We played a game called Big Girl Rodeo. It was, yeah, I've never heard of it before. My mate told me about it. Turns out I was drunk enough and immature enough. I was up for the challenge. And essentially what you have to do, I mean, it's called Big Girl Rodeo because you wouldn't want to find a little girl. So if you jump on someone who's like 5 foot and 90 pounds, and they're just going to give out. It ain't going to be, you ain't going to last that long. So yeah, find somebody who's a bit sturdy, like a Russian log thrower, that you can jump on, and that was it. You just had to go up behind somebody, jump on them when they're on the dance floor, and hang on for dear life while they act like a mechanical bull and try and get you off. However, I was very polite about mine. So I chose my rodeo partner very well, and that is the key to winning that game. You gotta pick well. One, I got very, very sturdy legs, I have to say. And yeah, I just pretended it was some stupid way of me asking for a dance, so I didn't even get slapped in the end. It was, yeah, I was so drunk, she was almost attractive. That's how close the night was. But yeah, it was a good night. I won the proper rodeo thing, even though it cost me 2 thighs, but it was worth it. And I won the, yeah, the makeshift immature version of the rodeo. Didn't get to keep the cowboy hat though, I don't know whatever happened to that. Anyway, yeah, we got the metal beams. As you can see, the loaf's a professional. He scooted forward, squeezed them beams on, and now he's back. And I started going this way. If I was going to change anything about this mission, I probably should have slightly doubled back on myself after I went into that area to get the metal beams, because I ended up cutting across a part of the map that I hadn't uncovered yet. Like I said, I didn't really use watchtowers for this map. I just wanted to see all the lanes I take, how that uncovers the map. Yeah, this was a little section that I hadn't uncovered, so it was quite a good excuse to go this way. However, as you can see, it was a pretty terrible place to cut down anyway. The trailer, unfortunately, just couldn't handle the situation. It finally tipped. I lost my cargo. So, sending the beast, sending the P16, and yeah, that loaf that saved us earlier, that was sitting there waiting, knowing that one day he was able to refuel somebody. I recovered him. Strategic recovery. Got him on the back of the P16. He's going in. Extra fuel, extra repairs, just to be safe. Yep, this one's got the KRS crane on it, and it's going very well. I mean, this thing has got plenty of power. I have to say, I do enjoy myself with P16. Definitely looking forward again. I think I keep saying it, but when Phase 3 comes out, getting the login trailer and all that, driving this thing around will be yeah, a lot of fun. I'll cut most of this out because it's essentially just craning stuff back onto the trailer. Nothing special, but the crane did very well. It's actually got quite a lot of reach, that crane, considering it is one of the smaller cranes. It's pretty decent, and even when it's quite far extended, it's not really struggling as much as the others, I find. And anyway, as for repacking the trailer, basically, if I tried to repack the cargo with the ANK, I'd have to unpack the cargo and repack the cargo, and then I knew my loaf was already sitting on the metal beams, and I knew something would be trollish about it. So, switch to the P16, attach the trailer to that, and then pack the cargo with that, and then switch it back to the ANK. At this point, to be fair, it probably would have been quite a cool idea just to stick to the P16 from now on. It's got a damn good horn to it. Yeah, but just for the fact that I was kind of testing this, and I wanted to see if my my fuel calculations, my little sneaky loaf and bandit scavenging missions kind of helped. See if this could get me all the way home. So yeah, stuck the trailer back on the ANK, but that's the reason I just did that little switch around there, because otherwise I'd probably have to drive the loaf a little bit further forward again, and yeah, it's just a lot of messing around. Bit low on fuel. The only thing I probably should have done back there while I was just messing around and stopped anyway is just stuck the rest of the fuel from the loaf in the ANK. And at this point, I think this is partly where, yeah, particularly the weight of the trailer is this thing really wasn't liking it. I'm certainly not fast enough to be dropping it into high range at the minute. And I tend to find with low range, particularly on a truck like this, because it's got the all-wheel drive and the diff locks permanently on, there's not a lot of difference anyway, even if I had the 3 low ranges between high-low and first gear auto. The only thing that the developers have done recently, like fairly recently, was they altered, like, you used to be able to just sit in first gear and it'd motor along quite nicely. The Dolphin was very good at it, this ANK was pretty good at it. They adjusted it at some point a couple of months ago to where it's constantly trying to jump up to second gear, and then it realises it's not got enough engine power, and then it kind of stutters, stops and jumps back down to first. I believe the developers did that on purpose to kind of make the concept of the low ranges a little bit more useful and a little bit more enticing. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, particularly with a truck like this, if I went for the off-road gearbox instead, I would have the 3 low ranges, but I'd have a much slower high range, and all the rest of it, it's just, I quite like dropping it in high. Particularly in the high range, it lets you get quite gives you quite a lot of use for the actual revs available with the engine, and yeah, it just motors along pretty well. So overall it was worth the sacrifice. Right now, if I could just click my fingers and switch to an off-road gearbox and have the 3 low ranges, I probably would, and cruise up this hill in high-low. But like I said, high-low and auto, there really isn't a whole lot of difference in it, so I really don't think it would have done that much. If this thing would just stay in first gear, I'll be ticking along up here just fine, but as you can see now, it just keeps trying to jump to second and instantly abandons mission. Which is a bit of a shame, because for the most part this was all going pretty well. Like I say, it's not certainly not mission over or anything like that, but still, I don't like it. Keep jumping up and then stopping me midway. I thought at this point as well, I was like, oh no, are we stuck? I don't know, I think it's just those rocks under the rear axles. Got over them. Fortunately, the speed started to get a little bit better as we got nearer the top. So yeah, this mission certainly took me a lot longer than I anticipated, but like I said, I'm kind of glad now that I made it into a video where I could just edit various bits out rather than it being as I said, it was probably an hour and a half in total, so I'm kind of glad I didn't leave it for a live stream, because that would have ate up quite a lot of time really. And yeah, I'd like to get the main reason I want Quarry open, I can go and get the top loaf engine, so it can be a full fat horse. And then also the other engines for the Dolphin, because I've still got a stock Dolphin. Yeah, I want me full fat Dolphin. Anyway, drop all this stuff off, and yeah, mission done. I think I get about 6,150 payout, so with that contest I snuck in there as well. It's about 11.5 grand, so not too bad. Yeah, the truck's worth giving a go. It was doing pretty well. That's about it for today though. Hope you enjoyed, I hope that helped. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.